All right, I think we're back. Sigma, you still here?
Yo, Bruce, how's it going?
Awesome. Congrats again on that absolutely killer race you just put up. Fantastic performance.
Yeah, thanks, man. It went better than I was hoping. I was just looking for 33 and we found 32, so that was a really fun run for me. So,
Sorry about that. Had some echo going on my end. I think we're good. All right, so tell me about this race we got coming up, Sigma.
This is going to be JHobz versus qqstafoo. This is one of the most highly anticipated matches of the weekend because these two guys are fighting for the first seed of their group. They're qqstafoo's first seed, JHobz is second, but it's very possible for JHobz to upset him and take the first seed coming into the bracket stage. So this is probably going to be a close race. They're both going to be gunning like for a really low time, playing aggressive to try to, edge the other guy out of here.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think what this race is going to come down to is what JHobz' mindset is after coming out of his race yesterday. His race yesterday, we saw some uncharacteristic mistakes out of him. What should have been a huge blowout in his favor ended up being a pretty close race for most of the way through. He did manage to clutch it out, fortunately, through just a little bit of extra experience and tightening it up at the end. But if those mistakes are still in the back of his mind and he starts to repeat some of them, this could start to very quickly go in qqstafoo's favor.
Yeah, qqstafoo puts up pretty consistently good race times. We don't have too much data on him from the tournament, but he's done races just on SRL with Ori people. And I was watching his stream yesterday. He was doing no reset runs, and they were all kind of like disasters for him, sort of ending up like 4 or 5 minutes behind, which of course for qqstafoo is still a pretty good time. But then he did some races afterwards where I think he was focused in a little bit more, and he's getting like low 35s and stuff like that. So I think he could run away with this, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think he'll be focused in though.
Yeah, I think both of these guys are going to have good mindsets going into this. JHobz has a lot of speedrunning experience on his side. He's run a ton of different games, especially through weekly average races that he does with Spike, where he learns a new game and does runs in a week. So I think he'll be able to shake his nerves off and put up a good performance. And qqstafoo, every time I've been on his stream, he's got a great attitude. He's just a big memer. And even when things go badly, he just kind of laughs it off and finishes the run out. Never seems to get too tilted.
Yeah, he definitely has a good mentality for this kind of thing. So even if things start to go wrong, he'll be able to adapt. And looks like we've kicked off. We're just waiting for the stream sync here, and then we'll be heading on down to grab sign.
Well, hopefully qqstafoo gets started here. Looks like he's got quite a bit of delay here, but they'll be synced up here in about 20 seconds.
Our lovely restreamer has JHobz suspended in time while qqstafoo manages to catch up. So if you ever wanted to watch the first 5 jumps of this game done slightly differently, well, you're out of luck because they're going to do them the same way.
Oh man, I can certainly sympathize with how JHobz' Ori must be feeling. I feel like I'm trapped, frozen in time in Glades every time I stream this game.
It's a really appropriate position for it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Right. I guess qqstafoo must have had a little bit worse of a prologue skip. That's really the only reason for this difference here. So what you want to do when you start the game is at exactly 3 seconds, press escape and then skip the prologue. But if you press it too early and then you don't realize right away, you have to press it again and lose a second. But it's just a second. It's not really a big deal, but that's where the little bit of desync between them comes here.
It's more of a mental thing than anything else, even though that second is largely irrelevant over the course of your run. Just something about starting it off knowing you're already behind can really get into your brain and distract you from performing correctly later on in the run.
Yeah, fortunately or unfortunately, rather, when you're doing actual PB attempts, you can reset over and over on the prologue skip until you get a good one. But you can get stuck there sometimes. All right, so we have them both cleaning up the Frankie fight pretty easily. See a little bit of difference there. qqstafoo going for the jump over the bramble while JHobz did the damage boost. That's actually an interesting way of doing it. They're taking damage off the slime instead. They're both trying to get down to 1 health so that they can pull off a faster ghost door, and they're just making it their way there through different methods. So everything pretty smooth so far for both of these guys. Actually, as I say that, JHobz takes an extra hit. I don't know if he got a health drop. Did you happen to notice?
I didn't see one. I was looking at qqstafoo's screen when he went through the brambles. Hobbs should check his health here and see if he can boost.
Yeah, I assume he knows. Yeah, he knows
Okay.
he's at 1. Okay, I thought he didn't get a health drop. Stafoo actually got a health drop and then took damage, and then the slime he killed dropped health again. So he had to take even more damage, whereas Hobbs got a seed with low health, it seems. So
Yeah, and you can see just that minor of a difference in terms of being able to do the health drop and boost through has now put Stafoo slightly ahead when he was a little bit behind before. It's still basically neck and neck, but those frames, especially in the early game, do add up.
yeah, we'll see how their execution is on the rest of the way down to wall jump here. Nice close slime dodge from Stafoo there, and almost getting the quick dodge on the slime below. We'll see if Hobbs gets it. He opts for the turn back, so they're basically the same. It's surprising how many little things there are, especially in the early game of Ori, where you can lose or gain half a second here and there.
Yeah, particularly on these early splits where your movement is very limited because we don't have a lot of the skills yet. The differences between the top runners and the slower runners may not be immediately apparent just by looking at them. You look at their route through and be like, oh, they both did the same thing. Why is this person getting a 323 wall jump and that one got a 330? And it's because of very little things like, did they dodge that slime down at the bottom of the turn back at the elbow there? Did they get a proper damage boost through the first slime? Those things add up and generate the differences we see in the runners here.
Yeah, so you can see despite that the Stafoo had a bit worse of a start right off the prologue skip, just tiny things up to the wall jump split just put him in the lead, like Hobbs not taking that damage boost, and there's a bit of a wall slide for him on the way down. You know, it's still a good wall jump time for Hobbs, but it's tough. It's tough to beat somebody like Stafoo. Like, you have to really be going for it. But you know, it's also fine to just, you know, play your game and try to catch up based on mistakes, which can very frequently happen.
Yeah, Stafoo, definitely one of the like newer wave of runners that got good at this game really, really fast. I'd put him on the same level as like Raziel and Lucy, where they were new enough that I was like, okay, well, it'll take them a while to get their times down, and then they kept posting PBs at a rip roaring pace, and suddenly they're putting up extremely competitive times.
Yeah, Stafoo actually started running this game on the 29th of December. So he's been running the game for under 2 months, and he already has his PB is, I believe, a 33.58, which is
That's unreal.
absolutely crazy. Like, there's definitely sort of a mark at sub 40 where you're just saying, okay, sub 40, now you're really running fast. But then once you start to get down to the 35, the 34, the 33, it just gets way harder to jump over those minute barriers. And Stafoo is one of the few people who's managed to grab the 33. Both runners glitching their way through the cutscene into Blackroot now, so they're still very close. Hobbs and Stafoo had a similar approach through Glades, so not too much distance between them. This area is essentially an auto-scroller. There's very little you can do to actually speed it up as long as you make the fast cycle, but it's at the same time quite scary. It's very easy to die, and deaths here can be quite costly, so we'll see how these guys manage through this room. If they hit these spikes, they're just done for because you cannot jump out of them, and they do 3 damage, so it's quite miserable.
Hobbs died on the spikes he's above right now in both of his previous tournament races. He does manage to make it over it this time, but you've got to know that those spikes were on his mind this time. He's like, I just don't want to die in here 3 times in a row.
Oh boy, Hobbs. Okay, he manages to get back onto that platform before it raised up too high. So both of them making it through the lantern part without incident. They have a nice cycle in these lasers, so they can take their time here. They don't need to rush this because they're going to be waiting on the platform up top. But basically through the dangerous part of Blackroot for both these guys, so no mishaps so far. Now we're going to see them both do a cycle manipulation. Stafoo waiting on the left edge of the platform. Hobbs is about to do the same thing. And that's going to set up the next room so that when they enter the room after this one, they will instantly have a platform there to ride up.
They both opted for a pretty safe docile manipulation based on how early you start heading towards the right there and cut the little weight you're doing for the manipulation. That's going to determine how close you cut this cycle that they're on now. They both went for ones that are pretty easy to hit. You can definitely go more aggressive than that, but if you miss it, you're going to lose 8 seconds on the cycle. So they're both maybe choosing to play it a little bit safer for race safety.
Yeah, we also see Stafoo drops the orb on the moving platform, whereas Hobbs opts to drop it on the stationary one. The stationary one is slightly slower, but it also makes it so that the laser can't reactivate and kill you. So it's a little bit of a scary thing. It's basically, you can save half of a second by dropping at a platform earlier, but if you die, you're going to be back to the start of your cycle minute, which is something like a 35-second death.
And that's if you opt for the safety save up here. There's really no reason not to. It's energy that's not doing anything else. But you can definitely muscle memory through and forget to put it down, because in PB attempts, a lot of runners don't even bother. Because if you die there and go back to that save, even if you have the safety save, it's a PB attempt and we're still only 7 minutes in, so a lot of runners will just opt for a reset at that point anyway.
Yeah. The way I do it, actually, it's kind of funny, is I don't know if stavoo is the same, but the way I time my cycle minute is based on how long it takes me to save.
Oh, that's
so
an
I
interesting way
force
to do
myself
it.
to put a save there by using it as part of my setup. Both these guys now dashing back to Glades. We're going to be in Glades for just a brief more moment, doing the Frankie walk to get us over to Grotto quickly. So now saying goodbye to the early game and moving into the early mid game. What do you want to call it?
I'd call this, sort of the beginning of the mid game. There's several really big moments in this game. Oh, stavoo!
Shoot! Okay, so he has to either go back and save or die. He opts to die, which is pretty much the same speed. That's a big problem. Taking that hit from the Frankie, you need to have at least 1 health, or 2 health rather, to damage boost over the spikes that JHobz just passed. As soon as he got hit there, he was at 1, so he had no option but to do something along those lines. So that's rough, and that's JHobz taking an early lead. I don't believe either of these guys are watching each other's streams, so they're not going to know that this race situation is what it is. Well, stavoo will probably know that he's behind after that, but JHobz just playing cleanly and capitalizing on a mistake basically to put him in the lead.
Yeah, he's already avoided several mistakes he made in his past race. So I think what we were saying earlier about his speedrunning experience paying off and allowing him to shake off the mistakes from yesterday, it's definitely happening. He's definitely brought his A game today.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a different mentality for him here going into this race where he knows that, he's the disadvantaged one. He's the challenger, basically. I wonder if there's almost less pressure on him than being in the position where you should win the race and you just want to kind of show off strats. I might have to ask him about that later.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know, because stavoo is the favorite, but in terms of PBs, it's not by a ton. It's less than 2 minutes, I believe. stavoo has a very high 33, and JHobz has an upper 35, so it's probably around like a minute 30, minute 40 difference between them.
Yeah. So one thing to note is JHobz did not get the early cycle in Grotto, so if stavoo can pull this off, he'll catch up by 8 seconds. So let's see, the dash setup looks good. The wall, that was so close. He just barely missed the ramp up the edge, but going to be maintaining JHobz's lead for now. He didn't manage to cut any time with that.
I'm so triggered by that messed up ramp over the crystal. I've been practicing that trick a lot lately, and just that dash into the crystal is just that's what it looks like when hope dies.
Yeah, that's for sure. So JHobz cruising his way on out of double jump right now. You'll see nifty ninja jumping out of JHobz. He's one of the few players that does this, so you'll see him do all these crazy backflips off walls, which saves a little bit of time. And not much time, so not many people bother with it, but it's a tough input. So stavoo now going through his blind movement out of double jump. We'll see how this goes for him. I don't have audio on his stream, so I have no idea what's going on, but looks like it's all okay. Actually, that was beautiful. He was already jumping off of the right wall when the camera caught up to him.
That shows a lot of confidence and skill out of stavoo. It's fairly easy to get to the point where you can climb to the top of that right wall with some practice, but to jump out over those spikes to the left wall is sort of another, like a quantum level above that in terms of how good your blind movement has to be, because to do that, you have to know you got it right. You're risking damage on it, whereas the rest of the blind movement is fairly safe.
A little bit of trouble with grotto skip for stavoo. I think JHobz got it on the first try because I looked over and didn't see him stuck there. So stavoo going on his fourth or fifth try now. This is a really precise jump where you have to hit just the right spot on the wall to be able to get a wall jump, and he's going too high on a lot of these. And now the platform's swinging, which makes it a lot harder, but he manages to settle it down. He just waits a moment until he can swing into a neutral position and says, okay, I'm going to do these inputs as I practice them. So JHobz' lead widening a little bit, but we can see one death throw it back easily to stavoo. Plus, given that stavoo's PB is considerably faster than JHobz, I would expect him to be narrowing the difference on little movements here and there, although things like the grotto skip kind of fall under that category. So maybe a little bit of nerves from stavoo, or maybe just you know, I don't know.
Yeah, like you said, he's coming into this knowing he's expected to win, and that might be playing into his mindset here. You know, because he thinks that he's supposed to win, as soon as he starts to make a few little mistakes, like having to kill himself before the Frankie walk, that's now he's starting to think, okay, I need to speed it up even more to catch back up to where I'm supposed to be, and he's maybe playing a little bit faster than he's comfortable with, and starts to make more and more mistakes going as this goes on.
Yeah, so we're looking at approximately a 40-second lead for Hobbs now after that grotto skip. Maybe a little bit more than that, but yeah, it's definitely striking distance for Stafoo, but Hobbs having a very nice run so far.
Now pay close attention to Hobbs' screen going through the Jinso tree here. I know he's been working a lot on a lot of small optimizations for the movement here, involving some cool dash glides that a lot of runners haven't adopted yet.
I wonder if he's going to go for it, because he said like he's been practicing it, and I think his default Ginso improved a fair bit as a result of just like working on this movement a lot. But the second room is going to be really interesting to see, because if he goes for that, like it's very easy to fail. He goes for the one dash glide in the first room, bunch of ninja jumps up. So let's pay close attention to his movement here, see how crazy he goes, because he can skip like a quarter gamer cycle, and he's doing it, and he got it.
Wow,
that is really nice. That's a very nice second room. The only thing faster than that is telehopping, but you'd have to have very good telehops to match the movement through that room. So that's really nice from Hobbs right there.
Yeah, his movement through Ginso here is looking great. It's his Jinso, like especially early on, is something I've been looking at to try and adopt some strats from, because it's really, really cool, and it's not only fast but really, really swag to watch too.
Yeah, I cannot emphasize enough how easy it is to bonk your head on the last dash glide he did in the second room and just fall and have a similarly bad result to telehobbs. So we'll see how Stafoo does it. I don't imagine he's adopted JHobz' strats. Looks like he's going for a bit of a slower version where you jump up the top. So Hobbs actually managing to widen the gap. I was talking about how Stafoo was supposed to be the one, making little saves here and there because of his overall better time, but actually Hobbs is playing out of his mind right now.
Yeah, it looks like based on their current separation right now, they're around 45 to 50 seconds apart, according to the experts in the truck right now.
Gotta love those guys in the truck. All right, Hobbs cruising.
Okay, he's doing
that's just style. That's just style. It's the same time, but it looks flipping awesome.
Have you seen the version that Lucy does where she dash glides over to the top key and then comes back for the bottom one and damage boosts on the slime on the spikes below? Is that any faster?
I timed it. It's half a second faster in that room, but then you can't damage boost in the next room. So unless you do the nutty dash glide through where you don't have to double jump, it doesn't save time. But I wouldn't be surprised to see some people doing that nutty dash glide. Stafoo going through the mini boss. Hobbs has picked a bash. Really nice time from Hobbs. That was like a 5:10 bash. Sub 15 bash is like amazing. So getting close to that in a race is really, really, really good.
I'd be interested if the experts behind the scenes could let us know where Hobbs is at relative to his PB pace right now. You can't be far off of that, I would imagine.
Yeah, we need some more experts in the truck than just Richard. Somebody get in there and give us this info.
All right, Stafoo making quick work of the pre-bash room. He'll be ghost storing here and be picking up bash himself. Something interesting about this game and the fact that your movement changes so much as you get more and more skills is that it kind of divides the game into several major sections, each of which is vastly different from how they play from each other. The first big change was when they got dash, and that changed up their movement a lot, and Hobbs definitely played that section better. But now that we have bash, the game changes. This might be where Stafoo starts to change the game. If his bash game is better than Hobbs' bash game, he can start to make his comeback now.
Yeah, Hobbs did drop a cycle on the redirect puzzle that Stafoo's doing now. And he also went for the fast key dupe, but he didn't fall directly into the spikes. So there's some little cracks in the armor, so to speak, that Stafoo could exploit. So I'm going to pay a lot of attention to how Stafoo's key dupe goes here. Hobbs having a nice mini-boss fight. He had to drop down for the experience, but that's not the biggest deal. See how quick Stafoo's key dupe is. Actually having the same problem, but when you miss-aim that bash and you don't fall directly into the spikes, it's definitely preferable to fall where he did and be too far right than fall too far left, because that means you die without duping, and that's a huge time loss. Hobbs now on core skip. Yeah, he's good. Nice.
Our truck
I was a
experts are
little worried
saying
for a sec.
Hobbs is 18 seconds ahead of PB pace right now. Not bad at
Holy
all.
smokes. And it would appear that the lead is widening. Nearly a minute between Hobbs and Stafoo now. So really, at this point, Stafoo has to play fast, but Hobbs has to make a mistake essentially to give a window for Stafoo to catch up. So if Hobbs can just keep this pace up and not make too many large mistakes in Suro and Misty, he could have this race in the bag, but it's still very early. Stafoo's core skip also going off without a hitch. Hobbs cruising through the Ginso escape, opting for a fourth bash there, but it's not going to affect his cycle up here. So actually, it is going to affect his cycle up here. Yeah, that was close, but it didn't quite get the height on that, and opted wisely to not bash the shot while it was already halfway in the spike. So I like that. But they're both on the Ginso escape, so they're not too far behind. No bad deaths from Hobbs at the end of the escape, ends it cleanly, so no opportunity for Stafoo to catch up yet. And just kind of like a little thing here and there, Stafoo missing the spider shot manipulation just drops, another second. So this is, Hobbs just playing well and Stafoo just making small mistakes, but the big tricks are honestly what it's going to come down to later on.
Oh yeah, Hobbs not only widening his lead against Stafoo, but widening his lead on his personal best as well. By the end of that escape, he is now 38 seconds ahead.
Holy smokes!
Yeah,
this guy's
he is
going crazy.
Totally burning through this game right now. He's kind of making a statement. He did win his race yesterday, but it looked pretty shaky. He was taking a lot of unnecessary deaths, had a much slower time than I know he was wanting going into it, and it looks like he, ate his Wheaties this morning, got his good night's rest, and came back saying, "Let me show everyone in this tournament why I deserve to be taken seriously here."
Yeah, this is really the performance that Hobbs needed to put on to have a chance in this race against Stafoo, and it's absolutely beautiful to see it. This is exactly what I wanted to see from this race. Just sitting on the edge of my seat here, just every trick's going to matter for Hobbs because he has to nail them. Because I would not expect Stafoo to miss any of the late game tricks. So it'll be really interesting to see how this section goes for Hobbs coming up because we've got fast Stompless and Kuro cutscene skip and all sorts of things coming up.
The probably the scariest one as far as tricks for Hobbs versus Stafoo, I would guess, is going to be the infamous fast Stompless. And that's just not because Hobbs is bad at it, but because Hobbs is a controller runner. Stafoo is on mouse and keyboard. And when it comes to lining up your shot for fast Stompless, I personally find keyboard is a little bit easier because you can use your mouse pointer as sort of an indicator of where to put the aim, whereas controller runners need to eyeball it a little bit more manually.
That was a beautiful safety save from Hobbs. He landed too close to the frog. Normally you'll save after you stomp the floor. He landed too close to the frog, couldn't place it, decided to slow down and place the save, and then immediately ran into spikes. So that is what we call a value safety save right there. Now, Kuro cutscene skip coming up for Hobbs. If this works, you won't notice what happened. If it doesn't work, that's not good.
Oh,
he knew it.
No.
He knew it, and he tried to get out, but the bash pulled him into the cutscene. So that's a 17-second loss for Hobbs. He bashed just slightly too early. His position was good. He bashed too early, and that's going to give an opportunity for Stafoo to catch up. Like you can see, he's already just a couple screens behind now. If he gets the Kuro cutscene skip, he's going to be that much closer.
Funny note, at least prior to the Kuro cutscene skip, Stafoo was about the exact same distance behind Hobbs as Hobbs' PB pace itself was. So if you want to know where Hobbs is relative to his PB, you can pretty much just look at Stafoo, and that's probably about where it is.
Yeah, he gets it, so the gap is very narrow. I'm going to check the timestamps myself here. I think, okay, actually Stafoo opting for the 5th energy, so that's going to put a temporary gap in between them, but it's going to, oh my gosh.
What a nice adaptation to save it.
Bashed again. You didn't even have to, Stafoo, you madman. Oh my gosh.
So he tried to go for a really swag exit out of the 5th energy there, and it got a little bit off the rails, so he used some quick double bashing and some very quick thinking to save it and keep himself from dying there. That's really spooky because those spikes beneath, they do not care how much health you have. If you touch them, you are dead.
Yeah, and wow. So looking at Hobbs, he did miss the Kuro cutscene skip, so he lost a bit of his time on his PB. He's still 32 seconds ahead. Well, the difference between the two of them is about 20 seconds now. So they're both ahead of Hobbs' PB, and this is just intense. I think that energy dropped too far from Hobbs to Magnet. We'll see if he notices, or if I am crazy. I didn't see it on the ground. I'm crazy. I think he has the energy.
Absolutely. This is everything I was hoping for out of this race. Just like neck and neck to the point where a mistake out of either runner could suddenly put them way out of it. Particularly, we're coming up to Fast Stompless. This is a big time save with huge potential for time loss depending on how they mess it up. So let's just keep our fingers crossed. Let's see both runners nail it and keep this as a really close race as we go into the late game.
This is definitely the potential for a lead change. If Hobbs does not get Fast Stompless and StaFoo does, then it'll change. I like that angle. That's a good angle from Hobbs. Movement looks good. The spider shot is there. He should have this. Unless that shot somehow missed, and if it missed, I know nothing about this game, but it hits, so he gets Fast Stompless. Now, StaFoo must get it to remain within striking distance. If he misses Fast Stompless here, then Hobbs might be too far ahead to catch. Hobbs, he knows how far ahead he is. Look at him shaking his mouse around the screen. Like, he knows that he is way ahead of his PB here.
That shot from StaFoo looks really good.
Nice.
Shot from StaFoo looks good. Movement looks good. There's the spider shot. He should have this. Very nice.
As well.
Cleanly executed by both runners there.
So now we have Hobbs setting up for the rocket jump to Soro. He had a bit of trouble with this in his last race, but he gets it first try this time. So that's really nice. Having to reload the file there and re-get the frog is really rough. Soro bash. Hobbs has got to get this first try or he's going to get knocked back down to exactly where StaFoo is, so it's all riding on this trick right now. And that looks good. Nice.
Very
first
nice.
First try Soro bash from Hobbs. At the same
Hobbs
time,
looks like, as of getting the feather, he's now a full minute ahead of pace.
Holy smokes. He has to know. He has to know how far ahead of his PB he is, I think. Because he probably is looking at least at the timer. And, him shaking his mouse around at feather kind of indicates that to me. So we'll see. I think he's going to be the kind of guy who performs well under pressure. I think we could be on pace to see a great PB out of Hobbs here. StaFoo actually had some issues with Sorobash there. I saw him have to do the rocket jump off the frog twice, so I guess he died on Sorobash. So the lead for Hobbs widening a little bit. Nice bird bounce Soro from StaFoo there to save a second, but he dies again. No.
StaFoo, please.
Jeez, this is honestly like overcoming my expectations from Hobbs. Like I was expecting, after we saw that early game, Hobbs was going to have a lead and then StaFoo was going to make it up on the big tricks like this. But instead, Hobbs is nailing the tricks, and it's StaFoo who's having a little bit of trouble here. So, yeah, this is crazy.
Well, fortunately for our viewing entertainment, pretty much everything for the rest of the game has the potential to have catastrophic failure and death. So just because he is this far ahead doesn't mean StaFoo is out of this. A bad death, particularly at the entrance of Misty before any safety saves can go down, can lose you well over a minute and suddenly put this race back within striking distance.
Hobbs actually
StaFoo, no, he drops his frog. Fortunately, has a safety save
there, but yeah. This is okay. This is the safer way of doing it, because sometimes the frog will not respawn if you drop him. Hobbs just cruising along. He actually had the fast laser cycle out of Soro, but he didn't quite trust it, and he waited for just a second to get through safely. But now he's cruising along. We've seen basically some pedal to the metal Misty from Hobbs before, and it can go well, it can go poorly. We'll see what he chooses to do this time. Most notably, there's a strat which only Hobbs does. Actually, a couple strats which only Hobbs does in Misty, where you intentionally damage boost down to 1 health near the end, just to save 1 second. And I called him crazy for doing it. Fooligan called him crazy for doing it. Everybody called him crazy for doing it. I bet you that he's going to do it, so we'll have to keep our eyes peeled for that.
Yeah, and if he's looking at his timer, he definitely knows what pace he's on. Even if he's not, experienced speedrunners, even if they don't know down to the second where they're at, they know pretty well where they are relative to their PB pace, just because they know, okay, I got these tricks a little bit cleaner, my movement's been a little bit better. So he has to know he's on great pace here. Hopefully he doesn't let that deter him from going for some of the swag strats that he likes to show off, because I definitely would love to see them here.
Yeah, thanks to our guys in the truck, we know that Hobbs is 113 ahead of his PB at the moment. Oh man, rough death from StaFoo right before, just catching the tip of that huge spike hitbox right before the ghost door. So more spaghetti. I mean, he's still having a good run. Like, if Hobbs was not going absolutely crazy, this kind of performance from Staffu would be keeping pace, basically. But it's just Hobbs. It's just Hobbs, this race. That's all I can say about it.
It really is. Staffu seems to have taken the mistakes from both runners and put them all into his own stream, and Hobbs forgot to include any of his own.
Oh, well, there's one, but it didn't kill him, so it's all good.
Yeah, that's pretty minor. That's a few seconds at most.
Yeah, 111 ahead at climb for Hobbs. He's keeping really great pace through here. So now this is where things get real, because, well, they've been real for a little while, but this is where Hobbs starts to do the nutty strats, and we'll find out right away what his mentality is. Knowing Hobbs, I think he's definitely going to go for all of it. So the first thing that he's going to do is, as he's leaving from this Keystone room, he's going to throw this Frankie over the pit, and then he's going to do a downwards rocket jump on it right there.
He does it nice.
Oh, he got an energy drop from the Frankie too.
That is so lucky. This run is absolutely...
He burns it on a charge dash immediately.
Oh man, Hobbs is hungry for this. He knows he's on pace, he knows he's playing well, and he does not care about safety. He's like, I want to risk it, I want to put up the best run I possibly can.
That's actually amazing. He immediately decided, just snap decision, I'm just going to do an uncancelled charge dash here because I got a bonus energy. We're going to save the quarter second of that saves over cancelling it. Oh, he missed the rocket jump, but again, still holding in there. And now we're coming up to the meatball part. Will Hobbs do the damage boost down to 1 health after he murders some of these slimes? Here we go.
Oh, he can't now.
Hobbs scares me every time. And now he has 1 health for the mini boss, and I bet you he's not going to save. And if he dies here, it'll put him all the way back to climb, which is what Staffu is coming up to. So look at Hobbs' screen. Will he kill this mini boss successfully, or will he die? He
gets it in 1 cycle. Hobbs is playing out of his mind here. This is so much further beyond than I expected him to be able to play. Like, I was hoping for a good run out of him, but this is a 11 out of 10 run out of Hobbs so far, and he has just 1 major section left before he can make the final run.
Hobbs,
to it.
What are you doing? Your pace is insane. Why are you getting the Guwan seal?
No,
it's not worth it.
What is he doing here?
I can't believe it.
No, I refuse to believe this is real.
I refuse to accept this.
Richard, he switched the stream over. We're watching a casual play right now. This is not Hobbs.
You kidding me, Hobbs? You're a minute ahead. No, he's going back for it. Oh. He has to not. He has to not be watching his timer. He has to not know that his pace is this crazy.
I don't even have words for what I'm seeing right now. Like, this run is like high 33, low 34 pace, and he doesn't care. He's gonna troll us all with the Gumon seal. Oh, not like this. JHobz, no. Well, suddenly we have a race again, I suppose. Staffu is coming up to the mini-boss. We'll see if this was a colluded effort or a solo rogue attempt by Hobbs. If Staffu chooses to also go for the Forlorn Orb strats. Oh, he has the Gumons. Well, okay, I can confidently say that this is the only Gumon seal we have seen in this tournament so far. There's no question about that.
It's an agreement.
Oh, no.
He's going to Forlorn? Are you joking me?
You've got to be joking me, bro. They're going to do Forlorn. Oh, you know, as somebody who has participated in this very tournament in a pretty silly meme run, I'm torn between respect and disgust for this, because if they do all of Forlorn, this takes so long. Like, Hobbs is just, he's completely thrown away a PB for the memes here. Oh my goodness. Well, Sigma, why don't you tell us a little bit about Forlorn Ruins, I suppose?
Okay, so Forlorn Ruins is a basically optional dungeon. You're intended to go here and release the wind to get to Suro Pass, but because we have Suro Pass, we can sequence break our way out of it. Looks like all we're going to do is open Forlorn Ruins and then die back to Suro. So I guess we're resuming the normal route now, but that is a very unexpected detour. I really wish that they had not come to this kind of agreement on like Hobbs's clearly PB pace run, which is now no longer PB pace at all. But you know, I guess people will make decisions, and
well, he may absolutely be about to set the world record for all skills plus place the forlorn key in the door as a category. He's probably going to take world record in that one.
Unfortunately, there's no leaderboard category for that.
Are we going to have to add it in miscellaneous? I certainly hope not.
We're never going to talk about this again, is what we're going to do.
Okay, sounds good to me. Oh, man. I was not expecting this.
I don't think anybody quite was. Alright, so Hobbs coming up to Light Grenade now. He's got the cutscene skip done. Light Grenade is a useless skill, but we have to get it because this is all skills. And yeah, he'll be off to Horu after this just to finish up the end of this run. Stafoo also teleporting into Light Grenade now. It's basically still the same difference between the two, that Hobbs managed to open up with like this really sick run he had going.
If only Stafoo had managed the forlorn key skip, he would have been back in this, but unfortunately fails what is apparently a nearly impossible trick, and has to go place the forlorn key, and has unfortunately not managed to bring his time back up. Sigma, I'm sorry, I can't even focus right now. I'm so distraught over the loss of Hobbs's sick PB here.
Yeah, honestly, if it was me, and if I had some agreement to do this kind of thing, and I was on PB pace, I would say, well, I'll just be a jerk to my co-racer, and I'll just go PB. Thanks, but Hobbs sticking with it, I suppose.
Well, you got to respect the commitment, if nothing else. Still coming up, despite the detour, he's approaching the Horu door around the 35-ish minute mark, so he can put up like a 37 to a 38, which is not at all a bad time for the forlorn key category of all skills.
Yeah, so door warp coming up. This is a really fun trick to have at the end of the run, and by fun I mean frustrating, but it always adds a little bit of excitement into the tournament races because it's a frame perfect trick. He's going to have to exit the interior Horu door on the first frame that a file loads, and that's going to just skip all of the dungeon for him. So it's you know, killed a lot of PBs having to mash through this. We'll see how it goes. Doesn't get it first try. This still saves time over the next best method of skipping all of Horu if you get it within 6. So you kind of have to go for it, and you're kind of locked into going for it once you've started because you don't have the ability point necessary to do the other one. But he gets a third try. That's a good door warp, pretty average door warp as far as the tournament has gone, and he'll be onto the escape soon. Stafoo is basically his last opportunity to catch up is if Hobbs takes a death in the escape. I don't imagine that's going to happen. Yeah,
Hobbs does go for fish strats, and it has the potential to kill him and send him back to the start of this escape. So if he makes it all to the end and dies, and Stafoo can get a first try door warp, he can still be in this.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
But at what cost?
Good movement up to Horu, getting all his energy burned out and charge dashes there. Hobbs going through the escape. Actually, he missed the charge flame there. I wonder if he still has the energy for fish strats. I'm not sure how much he plans to go down with rocket jumps or with charge dashes on the way, and he doesn't have his UI on, so he may or may not have energy for this. He's going for fish strats, so I think he must know he has energy.
Now, interesting that he still goes for it because he's on controller, making his double bashes quite a bit harder, and fish strats don't actually save any time if you don't get the double bash at the beginning. It's such a marginal time save anyway that any loss of optimal movement in it suddenly makes it either even or actually even slower than just going up the normal way. He does finish it, though. He's holding right. Going to be coming in with around low 37, maybe 37.20 or a little lower. Which, you know, a perfectly respectable time. A little unfortunate to see it, given that without the detour to Forlorn, he could have maybe been putting up like a mid to low 35. But
yeah,
you know
he
what?
Didn't have any mistakes in his late games. This was a PB, but oh well. Now this is a significant race result. It's a big upset for Hobbs to take first place in this group from Stafoo, and that's going to give him a top seeding coming into the bracket. Unfortunately, average race time does matter for your bracket seeding, so that's gonna be hurt a little bit as well by the Forlorn Detour. But nice race from Hobbs, really pulling off all the tricks, one after another. I can't think of any. I guess he missed pro cutscene skip, but other than that, it was all the tricks going down one after another. So
Yeah, extremely good run, including the pretty cool routing to get back away from the Forlorn Door with the suicide down in the pit to teleport back to his save back in Valley. So clearly not just a last-minute addition. They actually decided this, I guess, far enough ahead of time to route out what's the best way to get back from the Forlorn Door and get back on track for the run.
I guess we'll just take it as a blessing that they just opened the door and didn't actually do Forlorn.
Yeah, we do have more races coming up, and doing all of Forlorn would be putting us up against the hour time limit that we have for our runs here. Hobbs is in chat. I hope he has a good explanation for himself and his shenanigans we got to see there. Throwing away a PB for some pretty tasty memes. Looks like Stafoo will be coming in with around a 38.10. Both of these runners obviously willing to hurt their average a little bit for some shenanigans and a little bit of fun time. Hobbs, I think, could maybe afford it just a little bit less because of his rough race yesterday, where I know he definitely wishes he could have put up a better time. So between that and a few extra minutes added on here, his average time going into the bracket is a little bit lower than he definitely could have managed. But because he's been taking a lot of wins, he's still going to come out okay anyway. I think, both of these racers are pretty well positioned going forward as the tournament continues on.